I'm Jesse with the Grille Fueled 4x4. I'm owner, operator, technician. Tonight, I'm going to be working on a 2017 Dodge Ram 2500 Bighorn. What the project is tonight, I'm going to show a step-by-step procedure of how to install a brand new Thunderstruck full bumper and grill guard replacement. Before you do anything else, pop the hood. In order to get this bumper even off from factory, because the way they've got it all tightened up inside there, first steps are this plastic ballast across the top here needs to be removed to access the top of the grill. All right, now that once you've gotten the plastic clip ballast off, make sure that you are really careful not to break these plastic tabs off. Unless you got extra laying around, you're gonna wanna reuse them. So you can either put it on top of the hood for right now, put it to the side, whatever convenient. I found that sometimes it's just easier to put it right there. Next steps, 4 10mm bolts across the top of this grill here. I'm going to real quickly remove those. I use air here at the shop, so if it gets a little loud, I apologize. All right, so let's put the forward to the bolt to the side. That grill is ready to come off. It takes a little bit of finessing and a little bit of tugging, but these grills pop right off. What I found is the easiest is putting your hand in the bottom side of the grill and pulling side to side. And try not to break it. Clips, once you get a few corners off, then you'll be able to stick your hand in there and get the thing right out. All right, so there is your grill off of the pickup. There's two top bolts. These are 18mm nuts on both sides, right here. With the grill in the way, you cannot get to that accessible point. So I will go ahead and start getting ready to move the bumper off. You're gonna have 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. The next step would be this plastic ballast that runs across the top of the bumper that looks downward. You're gonna have to pop these off. I just have a little pry bar, just pop the screws all off and everything else. If you look down in here, the next bolt's gonna be right down in here. This is the next bolt. This is on the passenger side, inside of the frame. On the driver's side, inside of the frame as well. It's a little bit hard to see, but it's on the inside of the bolt right there. On the other side of the frame, where the mount is, you look down in here, the bolt is straight downward. Let's see. It's kind of a little hard to see down in there, it's so dark. When I pull the bumper off, I'll be able to show you a little more, but there's an 18mm bolt sticking straight out with a nut on both sides. You'll have to take that off. I will go ahead and start taking the bottom bolts off, and then the bumper will be able to slide off. The fog lights and the sensors, all the harness is going to be right here. It all comes across and mounts underneath inside the fender well on this side. When I pull the bumper off, I'll be able to show you which plug to unclip. The harness I was referring to earlier, this is on the driver's side. This is the clip that is mounted on the actual bumper frame, the bumper mounts. You'll unclip that, you push the pin forward, and then you just unclip them, okay? Then you will take and unclip it a little further up so that way all this harness can be free. You have to pull these pins off, and then the bumper will be ready to come out. These are the inside bolts that I was referring to on both sides that are a little hard to get into, but they're 18mm. The truck does have a block heater. They do tuck them up underneath the bumper right here. So make sure that when you're pulling it off, you're not just ripping your block heater off if your truck comes with one. So you're gonna have to relocate it once the new bumper's on. So now that everything's been undone, just kind of a little tugging. Factory bumper. This one right here is to the fog lights and the park sensors. These two right here. One was a little higher. It actually sat up about right here. And the other one sat about right there. So, but when you get ready to transmit all these lights and the park sensors, you'll have to disconnect all this framework to even be able to get it mounted to the new bumper. So, Now that's out of the way, just put it to the side because you'll gut it later. But right now we're at the point of pulling the actual mounts off of the frame. Tow hooks will transmit to the other bumper. So before you put the new bumper on, make sure you put the tow hooks on because it's a lot easier when the bumper's off. So to get the mounts off the frame, show you right here, you're gonna have 18mm bolt nuts on the side of the frame. All right, so once those nuts are off, take the pin on the back side, pull it out. This is what the pin looks like on the back side. Pull them out, comes right off. You want to do that both sides equally. You are going to reuse these on the new brackets that are supplied with the diesels. They have an intercooler right here. It's a little bit more complex. The gas engines, you don't have to worry about moving all that out of the way. So when I get a diesel here, I'll be able to thoroughly help you guys out with the diesels installing the new front end replacements. So I'll go ahead and remove the other side and then I'll get started on the next procedure. So got the mounts off the frame. Now we're ready to install the new mounts. Now on these, the way Thunderstruck has it, it goes to either side. Does not matter. What does matter though is if you look at the bracket, the wider side of the hole and the narrower side, you can see that there's a little bit less meat than right there. This has to be facing upward. When putting these things back in, I've always found just put them back in the same way. On diesels, you have to put the bolts back in the same way. The gas engines, you don't have to. It's a lot easier to be able to put the impact gun on the inside where you can't get to it from this side. So, the gas engine, these brackets will go back on the side. Put them on in. Put the nuts on there. Do not tighten. You will leave them loose until the very, very end because there's going to be a lot of adjustments to get this truck bumper sitting on there really nice so it looks sharp on the vehicle. I will go ahead and the next steps after this that I usually do is I start disassembling all the components in the factory bumper to put them on the new bumper. That would be the park sensors, the tow hooks. The tow hooks you will reuse the nuts and bolts to put them back on the bumper. All right, I went ahead and got the harness all gutted from the factory bumper, pulled off all the park sensors. There's 6 on this truck. Not all models are gonna have that, but this is what the sensor looks like. This is a plastic clip that is on the outside of the bumper. You gotta pop the pieces off to get these things out. What you'll have to do is fish this wire through the bumper, okay? So you got the holes off to the side, you run it all the way through, starting from the driver's side, working your way to the passenger side. All right, I pretty much ran all the sensors, how they need to go. I went ahead and plugged in the side ones because those are pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy to do. On the inside ones, if you push these the actual sensors right into the mounts and you try to wire it later, you will regret it. So what I do is I always clip them in first, then take the front mounts. What's nice about this is you can put your hand behind there, but you will then be taking this and putting it right through. You want the beveled end downward. It'll sit in just like that, okay? You can see it's slanted. You want that slanted side facing down. So that way it sees the ground in front of you with the sensor. It's now time to put the fog lights on. I've already went ahead and did another step with the tow hooks. You just take the factory tow hooks off the mounts, put them back on the new ones. You will reuse the nuts and the bolts and the tow hooks. If your truck does not have tow hooks and you would like to get tow hooks, that is an option that Thunderstruck does offer that looks identical to the factory, new hardware and everything. So for the guys that don't have tow hooks, you can get them if you want to. Now for the for the fog lights, I already put the other one on, as you can tell. This side, I'm just going to start on the driver's side. You will retain the factory clips and the bolts. These you'll pop off the factory bumper. There's going to be 3 clips per side and 3 bolts. The bolt heads are 10mm. So when you go to put these things back in there, pretty self-explanatory how fog light goes back in. Fog lights are all on. The bumper is all assembled, ready to go on. Before you put the bumper on, make sure you put the factory grill back on. So once you get it close to the truck, you'll put it up against it, get it lined up. Height. The right way that I found is the right height that you want this thing to end with is if you look underneath your headlights, you have a plastic strip right here. When this bumper is done, you want the top of this bumper sitting about right in there, and that's about the right gapping. This is how it's going to look underneath. Now, you want to leave everything somewhat loose, that way you can make your final adjustments. This frame can move forward a little bit, so if you need kind of clearance with the tires, move it forward, and then you'll tighten these up. So that is how it should look on both sides underneath. What I found as a good guide is the bumpers brackets usually are sitting about flush with the mount. I went ahead and clipped in the fog lights and the park assist all plugged back in. I'm going to zip tie these up so they're all nice and tucked up in there. Bumpers all put on. This model will cover from 2013 to 2017 or current on this body style on the gas engines. As you can tell, it's got a nice, good, tight fit to the bumper of the truck. It's got good gapping. It's nice and even all the way across there, nice and level. Sensors, fog lights are all plugged in. It's got good curvature to the wheel well, so it doesn't shake away from your ground clearance, but it is a heavy duty, full Thunder Truck replacement. This is their smooth model and a Rivertex black. They do offer different colors as well, different applications, different styles, but this is their Elite Series. If you guys have any questions, feel free to contact me directly at adrenaline.fueled.4x4@gmail.com. You can visit my Facebook page, which is Adrenaline Fueled 4x4. Look me up, like me if you found this video to be very helpful. Appreciate it. Thank you.